my world history class. Here we're going to look today at the French Revolution. We're going to begin this part one by simply focusing on the causes of the French Revolution. Now, the French Revolution was caused because just during that time we had the Enlightenment, and people started to reflect on their lives and they started to ask questions like, what kind of rights do we have as a people? Who gets to make decisions as to who governs us? And what authority do they have? Who gives them this authority? And how to organize society so that everybody had a feeling of an equal share in the society. Now, France remained unchanged for many, many years, and this was a problem, the stagnation. And at the same time, France had a peculiar system of three distinct classes. First, you had the class where it was the monarch or the king and his wife, the queen and their children. Then you had the second class, which was the royals or the nobles and the Roman Catholic clergy. And then beneath that class, now you had the 99%, which was the masses, middle class people, lower class people, working class people. Those people were the masses. And the sad thing is, the people at the bottom, the 99%, they were working and paying taxes to the other two classes. They had to pay taxes to the king, they had to pay taxes to the nobles, and of course they had to pay taxes to the Roman Catholic Church. So eventually a lot of people became angry and bitter because many times whenever the French economy would go into a recession, they were the ones who always felt the pain, while the upper class people, such as the king, the nobles, and the clergy, they were living the life. So things got worse when France decided that, look, it was going to support the American fight for independence against the British, which meant that they had to spend a lot of money to buy weapons and arms and transport it to America, and then they had to pay to put food in, for the soldiers and all that kind of thing. So France eventually found itself in a deep recession. The recession caused the poor people to become poorer, and they demanded tax reform. The king appointed a new prime minister to the government by the name of Mr. Jacques Necker, who pushed through a series of tax reforms, and he won the public support. People admired him and said, yes, you're doing a good job, Jack. We love that. We love that. But something strange happened. The people who were going to lose out from this whole tax reform, which was the nobility and the clergy, they said to the king, hey, whoa, this is going too far. You can't do that. If they start paying all these taxes, we can't live like kings and queens, and live in splendor. And so what the king did, he gave in to the pressure that was put on him by the nobility and the clergy. And he called something called an Estates General. This is where you had the king, you had the nobility, and then you had the working class people, their representative meeting in a kind of a congress. And then they would each have equal votes. The king had 10 votes, the nobility and the clergy had 10 votes each, and the 99% had 10 votes. And so what they did at this Congress is that the clergy, the nobility, the king joined hands together and they outvoted the 99%. The guys became angry because they realized they were tricked. So the guys who were tricked, which is the 99%, or the masses, they decided, you know what, we're going to break away, we're going to form our own national assembly. We're going to make a new law where we are not going to pay taxes to these people, and we're going to form our own government. However, the king decided, look, in order to remain in power and in order to save his throne, he decided, look, you guys need to talk to each other. But he made a big mistake. The mistake he made was that the most popular guy in his government, which was Prime Minister Jacques Necker, he fired the guy. And so the people who formed the National Assembly, or the poor people, they decided, look, we don't trust you. Because the one guy that we trust to do the job, you just kicked him out of your government. So we don't trust you. And so, with that said, the revolution began. How it began? They attacked the largest storehouse in Paris called the Bastille, where half of it was a prison and the other half they stored arms and ammunition, and they basically stole the guns and the bombs and everything, and they used it to basically overthrow the government and the people of that era, including the bishops and stuff of the Roman Catholic Church, and they established themselves as a government. Now, once they established themselves as the government set about establishing basic rules of man, like making sure that individuals had certain rights and freedoms that we in the United States know as constitutional rights. They started giving those to their people. And then what made things worse is that in 1791, the king tried to flee France because he was afraid that these guys might not treat him well. And when he tried to flee the country, he was apprehended, he was charged with treason, and he was fired. And so the new republic was born, and they put the motto of liberty, equality, and fraternity as their new motto. The next lesson